Hi there, I'm Eric Rhoads from Fine Art Connoisseur. I'm the publisher, and this is our editor, Peter Trippi.
Hi.
If you're wondering what's going on here, I'm sitting here in my flip-flops and my summer attire. I've grown my beard for the summer, so I don't have to shave. Peter's growing some hair on top of his head, so he doesn't have to shave.
Looking good.
Yeah. We're together, spending some time together in the summer. We're on the porch by the lake. You might hear a boat go by. And we were kind of chatting about some planning. Even though we're here to relax, we did do a little planning, and we've been doing some planning for the Figurative Art Convention and Expo, which we call FACE, which is coming up in Williamsburg, Virginia. And I thought it'd be a good opportunity to grab Peter and just kind of talk about what we're going to do for a minute. And tell people about the FACE conference, why we decided to do it.
Absolutely. FACE is an idea that we've been talking about for a long time because we believe in gathering kindred spirits together to bounce off of each other. It isn't just about education, in this case, demos by master artists showing our people how to do it better. But it's also about realizing that there are people just like you all around the country, even the world, who believe in the same sorts of things when it comes to the techniques of making great figurative art, and also supporting each other and learning from each other in informal ways. And that's something that we've witnessed over these last years. The event took a while to gel, but when it did in 2017, it took off like a rocket. We've done our first 2 years in Miami, and now we're shifting to Williamsburg, Virginia, which is a beautiful place with a different aura. I happen to have gone to college there, so I'm excited to go back and see it looking lovely. It's actually a very comfortable place in November. It's not at all wintry.
Yeah, and it's really a wonderful place because it's a tourist location. It's a living history museum.
That's right.
Essentially, Rockefeller bought up all these colonial buildings, put them on a street, made a town, and you have people in costume. They never get out of character. Mm-hmm. And our first day, actually, before we officially begin, we're going to be doing a plein air event outdoors. So people who want to paint figures outdoors in costumes. And then we'll have those costume figures in our big studio. We have what we call the world's largest studio, where if you come to the conference and you want to practice what you've learned that particular day, we have an option where you can go into our studio. We have a giant ballroom with probably about 12 models. Some of them are clothed or costumed, and some of them have their own private costumes on. It's really an interesting experience. But I think one of the things a point that needs to be made is that this is really about furthering realism and the realism movement. And let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's really the critical point here.
Absolutely. That notion of trying to realize that everybody is moving in the same direction, that we can have more coherence and more joy if we actually know what the others are up to, that you're not just meeting the master artists and even collectors and dealers who turn up too, but also bouncing off of each other. And of course, the magazine team is there in force to support the registrants with project ideas or advertising or whatever might be needed down the line. The expo hall is filled with amazing vendors of art supplies who are also kindred spirits. They know this material so very well,
right,
and they want to share ideas with the registrants too. It's not just selling stuff. Obviously, that can be done online. This is different because you really get to riff with them.
Yeah. Well, we think the realism movement is so important. Of course, we've devoted Fine Art Connoisseur magazine to it. Peter and I have been together at that magazine for 13 years, and the magazine is a little bit older than that. And we have really tried to accelerate the movement, give it exposure, help collectors understand the movement. And we think it's important if you're a part of that movement, and it doesn't matter what style you might paint or draw in, whether you're a tight realist or whether you're a loose, brushy realist. The idea is that we're in this time when realism is becoming re-embraced, if you will, after becoming somewhat unpopular in the art world. And together, we're trying to kind of promote it, at the FACE conference, we do sessions. We have dialogues like this with me, you, others, where we talk about how do we get the movement on fire? What can we do together? How do we collaborate with one another? We have marketing sessions which teach you how you can make some money with the artwork. But the comment I've heard the most from people is, I thought I was alone.
Right. Exactly.
I thought I was the only one out there who was sitting in my studio all day long, laboring on these things. And they get together and they're able to sit down at the table with someone who's extremely well-known, famous, and ask him questions about technique, etc.
Right. And it's worth mentioning that those master artists are not just flying in and disappearing. They're sticking around for much of the conference, if not all.
Right.
So you really get to know them as people and learn informally as well as through the formal instruction.
Right.
I think that idea of having intensives like the pre-conference courses where you can go in deep for a day and a half with master artists like Michael John Angel or Daniel Maidman, or then have this 3-hour experience with a master artist during the main program. And then, as you say, the panel discussions, the lectures. We have a chief curator from the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation coming to talk about the context of what people can go out and see in the town. That notion of a very intimate village-like setting where the lodge where we're meeting is in easy walking distance of all sorts of restaurants and shops and sites. That will make it extra fun. And
it's right next to the museum, and the museum has Gilbert Stuart paintings and a lot of very early American portraits. I kind of look at Williamsburg as being kind of the center of portraiture for America during that time, and there's a fabulous museum next door, so that's going to be a wonderful thing. So the pre-convention workshops are fabulous. We have 4 stages, if you can imagine, which is because it's growing. So we have a main stage where everybody's together for a lot of things, and then there's demos and speakers going on there all the time. We have another stage that is basically
the video artists are talking about their work, and that is very much connected to the expo hall. Get the idea that people can engage and talk about which brushes are you using, which paints are you using. It's down and dirty, so to speak, which is very practical for a lot of these observers.
Right. And then we have another one that is basically drawing and painting, and they're a little bit more in depth. And then we have a lecture hall essentially. And I don't know if you have anything that you want to announce or talk about yet in terms of some of the people who might be coming in on the lecture circuit.
Right. Well, in fact, we call this the Figurative Art Convention, but we also will address still life issues as well.
Yeah.
Tony Mateo from Ohio is coming to give a talk about the 3-hour still life and how to set that up and how to do it. Now, it's not a demo, but it's a slide talk that involves historical examples as well as his own work. So things like that are varied in format. This will not be cookie cutter all the way through.
Right. It's fabulous. It's really a great experience, and we hope that you'll consider coming and joining us. You have a lot of options. You can come to our pre-convention workshops with Michael John Angel. Michael John Angel is the founder of the Angel Academy in Florence, Italy. He's coming over from Florence. It's a rare U.S. appearance and very rare for him to teach in the U.S.
And importantly, I think I'd like to mention this, if I may, he has said to us that what he'd like to do is show the students how you can use photographs well. That's something that we don't often hear in the world of realism in so many words. We all understand that photographs are in the background of our work, but in this case, he's going to say, no live model, please. Let me show you how to make a photograph come alive in my world. And that, I think, will complement Daniel Maidman, who's leading the other pre-convention course, which is very much about drawing the figure from the live model. So there's that balance. We're not in any way closed-minded here about techniques.
Well, what he was saying, I was reading the email dialogue that the two of you were having, and what he was saying is that most of us are not in a position where we can pay for live models all the time or have access to them all the time, and yet we don't want our paintings to look photographic or to have, the values are off and the form is off, and so he's really going to talk about that. And of course, he's taught that for many, many years at his school.
He has, and I should add that when you look at his finished paintings, they look nothing like photographs, but he has nonetheless made that leap in his way forward.
Right. Well, and I think that's one of the things that's nice about this is you get a variety, right? So it's kind of like a sampler program. You get to watch demos from different styles, and we all get a little set in our ways. And of course, if we go to a particular school, they may say, look, this is the way we do things here, and that's okay.
That's fine.
You want to stick to something. But at the same time, it's nice to be able to get exposed to see, well, here's how this person does it. And the other thing that I heard a lot was, you know, I didn't think I was going to like this artist because his or her style wasn't like my style. Right. But I learned a couple of things from that artist and watching their demo that really helped me inform my own work.
And that is so valuable. That is unexpected and a kind of bonus that you realize that you're opening yourself up to something that is not on your normal radar.
Yeah. Well, we hope you'll join us, the Figurative Art Convention and Expo, FACE, coming up in November in Williamsburg, Virginia. I'm Eric Rhoads from Fine Art Connoisseur. That's Peter Trippi.
Okay. Visit us at figurativeartconvention.com.
Bye.